totally get it. We're busy people, we have busy lives. We've got things like, work, uni, hanging out with family, hanging out with friends, binge watching Friends. Busy people, got a lot of stuff going on, and sleep often falls to the bottom of the priority list. Now, no one's their best self when they're tired. We already know this intuitively, but let's take it to the extreme for a second. Just imagine that I was able to keep everyone here awake for 5 days. I'm not sure if this would be great for my score, but let's just imagine it for a second. What do you think would start to happen? How do you think you'd start to feel? The obvious things are things like fatigue, irritability, maybe some cognitive impairment. But some of you might also start to experience hallucinations and delusions as well. And just quickly, a hallucination is basically when you see, hear, or feel something that isn't there, and a delusion is an irrational belief. Now, studies have actually done this. They've kept people awake for ridiculous amounts of time just to see what happens, and the results that start to emerge, the symptoms that start to emerge, are remarkably similar to the symptoms of a lot of mental illnesses. And we actually already know that a lot of mental illnesses have sleep as part of their diagnostic criteria, so depression and anxiety are two the examples. So we've known about this link between mental health and sleep for some time now, but in the past we thought the relationship just ran one way. So you have a mental illness and it might cause you some sort of problems with your sleep. Research is starting to come out showing that the relationship might actually go both ways. So having problems with your sleep might actually be causing and maintaining a mental illness. Now, we all know intuitively that mental illness is a big problem. And what you might not know, and I didn't know this either until I started researching this, but mental illness is actually the largest single cause of disability in Australia. So it's a really big issue. And researchers and clinicians are always on the lookout for novel treatments to try and deal with this, which has led to something called sleep treatment, which, it sounds like the best treatment ever to me. But what it usually involves is something called cognitive behavioural therapy for insomnia, or CBTI for short. Now, some of you may have heard of CBT before. It's a really widely used psychological therapy. It's a talk therapy, often used for depression and anxiety, and basically it targets unhelpful thoughts and behaviours. So in the context of CBT for insomnia, it might be unhelpful thoughts, and I'm sure all of you have had this when you're trying to get to sleep at night, and you know that if you don't get to sleep, you're going to be absolutely tired the next day. And it doesn't really help you get to sleep, does it? Or it could be behaviours, so maybe not watching 3 hours of horror movies before you go to bed, that sort of thing. So I want to just quickly look at a couple of studies that have looked at this new treatment. So this is a big study done in the UK with university students. Some of them had mental illnesses, some of them didn't. So when they were given CBTI, as you'd expect, it improved their sleep, but it also reduced hallucinations, delusions, and symptoms of depression and anxiety. This other study is a meta-analysis. A meta-analysis is basically like a summary of a whole bunch of other studies, so it's a really strong piece of evidence. And it found that CBTI is effective in reducing symptoms of both depression and anxiety. So it's looking pretty good, but the benefits of this discovery aren't just in treatment. Researchers are also starting to look into sleep as prevention, because we know that many people who go on to develop a mental illness often show problems with their sleep well before a clinical diagnosis of a mental illness. Now rest assured, I'm not saying that everyone who put their hand up before should be checking themselves into the psych ward after this at the Royal Melbourne, but if we were able to actually target people who are at high risk of developing a mental illness because of their family history, their genetics, or their life circumstances, then we could potentially stop them from developing a mental illness in the first place. So, to sum up, this treatment is cheap, effective, it's easily administered, and it's non-invasive, and it has the potential to help a lot of people. That's it. Have a good night's sleep.